what do you think is the best way to go about the Igbo presidency project? By consensus or by political parties fielding only Igbo candidates?
Well, it's very interesting how that will play out. I mean, as a matter of fact, I'm part of the people also involved in the Igbo presidency project. We're all coming together sometime next month to talk about this. All the governors of Southeast, all the traditional rulers, all the political leaders, and all that. Everybody will be converging to discuss this, to have a common understanding and a common agreement that there must be an Igbo president or Southeast president in the 2023.
Okay.
Now, the word consensus in Nigeria, in our political lexicon, has been totally abused over the years. That is, it has become so difficult to agree on consensus on anything. A group will come out and project a candidate and they say, this is the consensus candidate. And that group will come and say, how did we arrive at this consensus? So if there be a consensus amongst the Igbos, that will be a miracle. But what may be more practical is for the political parties, based on these issues we've discussed, for all the political parties to agree to field an Igbo candidate, not the parties, so that whoever now wins becomes the president. It doesn't matter from which party. Okay. That appears to be the more feasible option. But the option of consensus has never worked in Nigerian political history.
Lack of confidence for the Nigerian citizens is one of the problems the NSAS protest brought out clearly. The growing lack of confidence by the citizens, especially the youths, on the Nigerian leadership and their leaders, and government properties were attacked. What do you think is responsible for this increasing loss of confidence on Nigerian leaders and governance? What could be its adverse effects on the polity and what should be done about it?
Yes, the lack of interest now, lack of confidence on Nigerian leaders is very simple. Majority of the Nigerian leaders we've had over the years are totally selfish people, as opposed to people who have nationalistic developmental ideas and selfless ideas about leadership. So because these people are so selfish, they have over the years, cornered the national resources of the nation to themselves. They don't care about what happens to the common man. You will see over the years, schools are always on strike. Yeah. Workers are always agitating. Labor are always agitating, all kinds of things, because the leaders don't take time to listen or to solve the problems of the people. When they go on campaigns, they make all kinds of promises. But when they get into office, they never remember any of these promises. And they run government like personal properties. They acquire so much even for their next 10 generations, the kind of resources that cannot be finished in several generations. So because of this, there are no developments. Nothing gets to the common man as we describe our people. So because of that, they have lost over the years confidence in the ability of leaders to provide for them. Governance in social history, we are taught that government is supposed to provide the greatest good for the greatest number of people. But now, government leaders only provide the greatest good for themselves and a few of their cronies. You see a governor comes into office and they appoint his brothers and sisters and in-laws and all that into offices. The same thing at the presidency. They appoint only people from their section into all these positions. So because of this, people lose confidence in these leaders. And this leads to protests. In recent times, it led to this NSAS process. The SARS was just, a springboard for agitation against all kinds of ills in the society. But because for the young men and women who are struggling so much, some of them become successful and buy, flashy vehicles and all that, the SARS police was harassing them everywhere, taking all their money. Some of them are killed and all that. So they got so angry and they started this process of NSAS, and then it spiraled into protest against other ills of the society, which we've been discussing about. But unfortunately, like in one of my writings, I did write what happens in 2023 with this youth. Has the NSAS made any impact? Yes, it has made some impact. Will the impact last beyond 2023? I suspect it may not, because we don't have the capacity to follow up. Nigeria is not a nation that our people don't really follow through with protests.
Okay.
We don't really follow through with civil activism. We start at some point, we get worn out easily, either because we now lose confidence, we think it's not going to work, or some of the leaders of the protests, get compromised and all that. I'm not saying the leaders of the NSAS got compromised, but they have become worn out. That all the conditions they listed for the government was really shaking. Government was shaking. Government was beginning to make announcements that they would do this and that and this and that and solve this and that. But before you know it, government hit their sledgehammer and these people got tired. And all the gains that were supposed to be made from the NSAS protests, nothing has been seen. Instead of government implementing some of these things they said, they have now turned back. The tariffs in electricity has increased, the cost of fuel has increased, the tariffs, taxes have increased and all that. So you can see at the end of the day, the NSAS protests now came down to nothing. But if you check the history of this type of protests a few years ago in places like Algeria, Tunisia, and all those places, where some people got fed up because of a stray bullet that hit a poor woman carrying vegetable in the market, people took to the streets, and sustained their struggle until 5 presidents were removed in office in that region just because of a small protest. The kind of thing NSAS is supposed to, achieve. But in Nigeria, we have become so complacent that sometimes some of these protests is either because they are sponsored or because somebody wants to use it to make money at the cost of the lives of unsuspecting citizens. That is what has happened. So if government is able to address the concerns of the protesters, I personally participated in one of the protests, because I believed in what we were talking about. When I was a lot younger as a student, we were always on the streets. I remember when I was carried in a coffin, inside a coffin, as a symbol of protest of our colleagues who were killed, students who were killed. But that era, is gone. It was almost reignited with the NSAS protests. But unfortunately, before the steam it became high, it was cut short, and we're back to square one.
Poverty and economic challenges stemming from mismanagement and inequitable distribution of Nigerian resources contributes to the problem of insecurity and restiveness in Nigeria. Do you share this view? What do you think the Nigerian government should do?
Well, a man who is hungry, when a man is kept on the floor, you cannot go beyond the floor. So the only thing you can do is to start agitating from the floor until you get your problem solved. So the cause of most of the problems is the level of poverty we have in this nation. And Nigeria is not supposed to be poor. Just recently, the World Bank came out with a report that Nigeria's inflation, that recession will be worse in Nigeria next year. Right now, the inflation rate of Nigeria is 3.62%. There'll be much more problems. From January also, the Naira will be so weak. Now, all these things have direct adverse effects on the citizenry, the common man. And because of these effects, the governments are not I mean, the governments are not addressing the needs of our people. That is why you have these things. There is no reason why a Nigerian should earn less. The average income level of the average Nigerian is $1.90 a day. That is the income level. So Nigeria is below $2 a day earning capacity. You know, you can imagine what it means. You see every day, you know, people go and sit in churches praying to God for miracle. You see a woman praying for God to give her money to buy garri for her children. But you see a few privileged people. I don't even want to use the word privilege. A few useless people, you know, sitting on all this money. Somebody works for 35 years and retires, you don't pay them their pension. People even work and are not being paid while they're working. So the level of poverty in the nation is so bad, so high, that this affects lives of people. Now, if our leaders change their ways, unfortunately, when in 2019, we were told that we are going to, you know, I don't know, change on a higher level or whatever.
New change.
You know, next level. You know, but you see that we have now gotten to next level of poverty. Many years ago, in the 80s, $1 was 54 kobo. $1 was 54 kobo in about 1985. Now the same $1 is 510 naira today. You know, you can go to New York with a ticket of 18 naira. You buy a Peugeot 504 for 1,800 naira. You rent a flat for 15 naira. But look at what it is today. And this is because of irresponsible leadership. You know, so it is only, we have gotten to a level where it is only God that will save us. And the only way God will save us is by raising men and women who fear God, raising men and women who believe in development, raising men and women who are selfless, who believe in developmental politics. That is the only way the poor masses can rise up. But the situation appears to be hopeless. That is why I'm saying that it is only God that will help us. But God does not come physically to help. God manifests through human beings. And there are still those human beings in Nigeria. It's just that for now, they don't have the opportunities. I pray that God give them the opportunities.
This is our prayer.
Yes.
It is not easy to win election in Imo State without intense legal battle, which sometimes produces dramatic outcomes. Do you think this is healthy development in Imo State? Do you think it has fed the state well, or what should be done?
Well, it's not a healthy development, and unfortunately, it's been happening for many years, especially in Imo State. I haven't seen any governorship election, for instance, in Imo State in the last 15 or 20 years that has not ended in court with the resultant high expenditure of money in the courts. Even the last elections, you know, the one before that. At the end of the day, these candidates, when they go to court, they spend billions. They spend billions of naira. And once they get confirmed by court, the first charge they have is to recover the billions they spent in court. You know, and so they begin their governorship or governance with dipping their hands in the public till to discharge the debt they incurred in the courts. And that, of course, affects the governance, that affects the resources of the state. You know, you can't imagine that a man who spent 10 billion, for instance, to get his judgment in the court, he comes in. The first thing he will do is to find a way to collect 10 billion from the state treasury through all kinds of ways. The 10 billion that were being used to do, maybe pay worker salaries, provide grants for businesses, do infrastructure projects and all that. And once they start doing that, they never stop. Because they will now go beyond using the figure, they will now go beyond and start packing what they will use to run for the next elections. So you find out that in 4 years, little or no governance takes place. Little or no development takes place. Because once you get in, you start paying back the money you used to come in. And after you finish paying back, you start packing the one you used to come back and all that. So this affects governance. And that is what has happened in Imo State over the years. And in Nigeria for that matter. But it happens much more than in our zone, unfortunately. Even in political parties, in nominations, political party leaders from Abuja, they all scheme to be posted to Igbo land to conduct primaries because they understand they will come here and pack a lot of money. It happened in Abga we were talking about before. Okay. In Imo State, Abga, Imo State aspirants spent over 4 billion naira that was packed to be given to these leaders of these parties, the leaders of Abga, who came to conduct elections. You can imagine if those people were elected into office, they first try to recover their money and governance doesn't go on. This is the unfortunate scenario we have had in Imo State. There are so many factors contribute to that, and that is why there is no development. The development you see most times are just mere cosmetic developments. You see the qualities of roads that are being done. At the end of the day, these roads, if you are supposed to spend 100 million naira on a quality mile of road, but because you've dissipated the resources on other primordial things, you now build a road of 20 million, then the road gets destroyed in one rainy season. I'll give you an analogy or a story of two friends. One is a Nigerian, one is from Haiti. They graduated after 2 years of their graduation. The Nigerian man went to visit his friend in Haiti, and behold, his friend has built a big mansion. So the Nigerian man asked his friend, we just finished school 2 years ago. How did you afford this mansion? The man said, you see that road in front of my house? They gave me the contract for the road. I used 80% of the money to build the road. I used 20% of the money to build this house you're seeing here. And the Nigerian told the man that he doesn't even have a thatched house in his village. But lo and behold, the next day, the Haitian man came to visit his friend in Nigeria and he has built a basilica. The man asked him, you told me last year you don't even have a hut. How come you have this kind of building? The man said, you see that road there? The Haitian man was looking. He wasn't seeing any road. Said, you see that road there? They gave me the contract. I used 100% of the money to build my house. So I didn't build the road. So this is what happens in our society. And it has happened over and over and over. Until good people come into these positions, these things will keep happening. And the masses will keep being the worse for it, unfortunately.
We have come to the end of this edition and wish to thank you, Honorable Ike C. Ibeh, for coming. Pray that the good Lord will continue to bless you and assist you in your zeal and bring this dream to limelight through Christ our Lord.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you very much.